The Christmas Brigade, the sequel to The Christmas Light made a year later. The film opens with a still shot of Santa's prison for 20 seconds, and then they remember to put in the Christmas Brigade song. In credits, we still stay here despite the fact the next scene is just seeing Sled 2 circle around the base, which is reused animation from the first film, which they could have just put the credits over to give it a little more interest. Then finally, a minute 54 in, you finally see the characters. This is going to be a trend in the film where they're just wasting time. Ironically, despite the fact the first film was in extended play, we're in standard play for this film, and it's an hour 12. Either way, we see the characters from the first film, and Burton reestablishes to the characters who should already know that he's the commander and their mission statement is to bring Christmas cheer to every day of the year. They all also have Star Trek badges, including Jennifer on her pajamas, which is her new uniform.
What kind of a girl does a hamburger like?
I don't know, Burton.
Any kind, as long as she's named Patty.
For some reason, Burton now has a running gag of burger dad jokes. I don't know why. They call up Santa, and then a slow pan into the Washington Memorial. Bro needs to change the light bulbs, it's all yellow in here. And Santa gets a call by this totally French kid, Pierre, who's so French he's standing on the Eiffel Tower. And he's basically a clone of Jennifer's brother, Jeff.
The tower! It is shaking! Christmas light speed! High! Now! Help! The tower is shrinking!
The Eiffel Tower gets abducted by aliens.
We need more power.
This is actually in the film.
This is my new invention, the power belt.
Lets them clip through objects, teleport, turn invisible, and fly and glitch through the wall. It's totally a feature, just like old video games, you know? It's totally not weird.
Oh, dude! Someone just shot an arrow in my fucking dick!
It also has experimental features of freezing and shrinking, and he tests the shrinking on Burton. Jen doesn't trust the belt, which is why she has one. Then Santa gets called up by Johnny Johnson, who's on the Golden Gate Bridge, which is totally gold in real life. It turns out the guy who's stealing all these landmarks is Dr. D and his dart ship. Isaac floats over in the most hilarious animation he could think of. Dr. D somehow already knows who Isaac is, and his plan is to steal the landmarks and have one big display, kind of like Brainiac. He also has a power belt. This is a real inside job. Then Isaac gets mind controlled by a halo. He sends him back to the prison. He talks to Santa Claus, but right away Dr. D just also phases through the wall. And with his metallic purple hair, he shrinks Santa Claus really small and tosses him into his plant. They leave and call up the Christmas Brigade, with Dr. D flaunting about his body to Jen, which is weird, so she roasts him for a little. Jen and Burton return to base, but they can't find Santa anywhere. He's even smaller than Burton. So they decide to call it off. This is going to be a year without Santa Claus. Why is there a deer mounted outside? Because Santa Claus really did just retire the reindeer. It becomes Honey I Shrunk the Santa Claus for a while. And then he comes across the beetle. And I guess the creator really liked the fact that beetles only live 21 days because they talk about it forever and then sing about it twice. And after wasting my life, they finally just lift Santa Claus to the radio and spend like an hour talking about how Santa was shrunk. But Lone Sailor D was listening in, and he flies back to the base. But the brigade's on his tail, and they shrink down and chase him around the office for forever, looping animation. Turns out Dr. D has his own little drone Rudolph thing, and then the Christmas Brigade 1 chases him around for a while. Until Dr. D remembers that his ship has a death ray, and he uses it on the Christmas Brigade ship and shrinks down the prison, including Sled 2's helipad despite not taking the rest of the ground with it. They finally remember to unshrink Burton, just for the Sled 2 to be shrunk down and put in display, but they just fly out, regrow, and then use the experimental freeze ray on Dr. D. Off-screen, they throw him in custody. The film feels like it's wrapping up, but in reality, it's half over. We get a reprise of the Christmas Brigade song, now in like music video form, using a bunch of clips from what we already seen.
The Christmas Brigade brings the magic of Christmas to every day of the year.
That's right!
Then we're introduced to Amy, a green palette swap of Jennifer, who is apparently her sister, but this isn't Jeff, it's Pierre from earlier. Then Santa makes them sing Christmas carols for 5 minutes, basically just waving around these two without even showing a reaction from the others.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy has come. Letter receive.
Then Pierre Jeff asks, how was this all made?
Well, Pierre, that's an interesting story.
No, it's not, because he literally just recaps the first film, removing the Dan Haggerty voice, and it's just him and Burden talking about the first film. A recap that's at the end of the film. Santa then makes Jennifer and Amy sing again for 10 minutes. If you make it through that endurance round, you get 2 reprises of the Christmas Brigade film, and finally it ends. This movie's terrible. I still want to be nice about the animation because it's still like really early in development. It's still not good and they reuse character models, but at least you can tell they're being a little more ambitious here. But this film is just painful to watch. It could have just ended after the D stuff. The singing is awful. It just feels like they're just wasting time when they don't need to. They could have just released another short film. I really can't think of anything positive about this film. I usually don't like being this negative, but 0 out of 10. This movie has no value. But if you like this video, make sure to share with your friends, comment, and even subscribe if you're new.